Boys and girls, welcome back to TOXIKK. Today we are talking about version 0.97, patch number 15, I believe. Not a terrible amount of new content was added in this. We got a new map, a couple new features. The game itself is not that much bigger. However, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of just behind the scenes, and a couple things that I think improved the game and answered some major complaints that I had last patch. So before I get into the details, I'd just like to commend Reactor once again on really listening to community feedback. I know a lot of the times that sometimes we don't like when developers change things willy-nilly based on community feedback, or if they get one person that doesn't like something, they go off the rails and change it. Some people don't like that, but so far the things that Reactor has updated or addressed has been more or less petty bullshit that just didn't make sense and that didn't affect the grander gameplay vision or anything of the game. It was just a hindrance. So we'll get into that, but I would just like to thank them outright for taking care of a lot of these necessary changes. So much appreciated from me. First of all, let's talk about the crown jewel of this update. That would be a new vehicle map called EHRGEIZ. I don't know. This is it takes place in like Bolivia or some shit, so I doubt I'd be able to pronounce it correctly. But this is a very, very simple map. All it is basically a big football field, for a lack of better terms, with out in the middle of Icelandic area, not Icelandic, Viking territory, I guess, and has a couple outposts, for each of the cell capture. This is a cell capture only map for now. Has a walkway in the middle, and it's just all out vehicle and infantry brutality action. It's actually pretty fun, and as far as cell capture game mode maps goes, it's just pretty simple and easy to jump in and out of. You don't have to think a whole lot, and with 8 versus 8, it's quite a bit of fun. So yeah, it's a cool map. It's different than I thought it would be based off the screenshots. I guess I drew too many conclusions thinking it was going to be way bigger than this. But I ended up liking it anyway. So we have the battle mech, the demon, I believe it's called, and of course the warthog spiritual rhino. So yeah, it's a cool map. I was looking forward to it from the last patch when they weren't able to add it in, and it runs a hell of a lot better than Citadel, let me tell you. Citadel still needs some optimization work as far as performance goes. I went back and made sure that it's still the same, because I didn't see anything about it in the past changes, and they definitely haven't tackled that yet. So there's still an improvement opportunity there. So I hope you guys are able to go tackle Citadel, because running a couple generation old i7 and a 980 Ti, I don't think I should be getting 35 FPS on 1080p. It's a little ridiculous. But the new map runs great. It looks awesome, and as far as it's simple, but I have a lot of fun with it, so good job on that one. So second thing is that they added Steam Workshop access from the map selection menu when you're in boot camp. So that's pretty cool. That means that, if you're like, oh, I'm tired of playing these maps, let's see what else we have here. And of course, being me, I've downloaded like 90% of them, but that's a nice thing. It took me a second to find, but it's actually in a really logical place, because that's where you're going to be adding maps anyway. So that's really cool. I'm wondering if they can add that same functionality for mutators in the future, because there's a lot of mutators. Matter of fact, you'll see a couple kind of funny ones here soon if I haven't already showed it off in the video. My personal favorite thing in this, I think, is the advanced screenshot tool. So before you could already do this, I never took advantage of it, because I was like, I don't really have I don't really care about it. But now you can press F10 and single player stuff, and you will ghost out of your body, and you'll be able to take screenshots. But you also have some depth of field based on centered object and a couple other things. You can also do field of view adjustments with your mouse wheel, and you can also like decrease playback speed if you are just trying to capture action. And it kind of looks like that when you do this, your character just goes around and at will becomes a bot, not a botch. And it's kind of weird. And I also found a very strange exploit for this. So apparently the camera is you once you regain control of your character. So I took a couple really nifty looking screenshots, and it's obvious that this is the same tool that Reactor uses to make their promotional material, because it looks great. But when you press F10 again, you teleport to where your character or your camera left off. So you can literally start at one side of the map, go into screenshot mode, the game will pause, ghost over to where the other cell capture spot is, take their cell, go back to yours, and you can capture it like immediately. It's so cheesy. Of course, it doesn't really matter because it's in single player, but I'm hoping that they can address that because it is kind of cheesy. So that's kind of an exploit that hopefully gets patched. But other than that, it's great because you can like save a higher quality PNG or BMP file instead of JPEG like you would with Steam. And you can still take Steam screenshots as well. I'm sorry if I'm like fumbling words. I actually just tried to drink some tea that apparently had gone bad, and it was like pure alcohol. So I'm over here like swishing my mouth out, and my tongue is like still trying to recover from that. So just bear with me here. Some other different things they've done. They've enhanced the vehicle visibility on larger maps. So apparently, you know, it would be kind of hard to see some things like your gliders and your aircraft if they were too far. So now they've added a slight little glow to make them more visible. So that's a good thing. I never really thought that was necessary, but that's certainly welcome. There's a default button on the control section. So now if you like, also the crosshair customization apparently, and that way if you completely butcher something and have no way of reasonably getting back to a control scheme or something that makes sense, then you'll have a default button, which is great. Unfortunately, there's not one for graphics as far as I'm aware. So if it does like an auto set anyway, I wish there was a default. That way if someone was less technically savvy with what these certain options do, you could. I mean, I know what every one of them does, but for less advanced users, I think that would be nice if you can add a default back to to put on your monitor's native resolution and whatever match the settings based on what graphics card you had. I think that would be valuable as well. And the rest of the features are kind of behind the scenes stability type stuff that just generally tightens up the game and that sort of thing. So that's good. The fixes is possibly what I'm most excited about. Number one is the server browser has added preview images. That way, and I did get this, it would sometimes like the preview images wouldn't load at all. They would be like, I think a red box or something would pop up. I can't remember, but so far I haven't had a problem with that recurring, so that's good. But my favorite thing out of all these fixes is last time I talked extensively about the low match time complaints, and I was definitely not the only one to say this. I read it in the forums, and has been ultimately pretty much eliminated as far as I'm concerned. So before, you had to have a 7.5 minute long match for anything to count. MXP, skill class, whatever it may be. They've now reduced it down to 4 minutes. If a match is less than 10 minutes, your match time needs to be 75% of the total match time. So you can't just join in the last minute of a game and get experience for it, which I completely agree, but 7.5 minutes was like way too long for me. If a match time takes more than 10 minutes, you have to be at least 7:30 of the game. So basically what this boils down to is that if you absolutely dominate someone, it has to take at least 4 minutes, but that is record time, and I think that's reasonable. I think 4 minutes is completely fine. I said it needs to be about half of what it was before, and that's a little more than half, but that's awesome. And the rest of their criteria makes complete sense to me. And it, you don't want to just like have a losing score count just because you've joined at the last second, but you also don't want to get counted because you joined at the last second and your team just destroyed the other team. So I think the system, the concept is perfect. We'll have to see if maybe some of these values need to be tweaked, but as far as I can tell, this is kind of a standard if-then format for what multiplayer games use for counting stuff. And I'm fairly certain that MXP counts no matter what, but it's the skill class is what this counts, because I joined in and got a little bit of experience for playing, and that makes complete sense. Your skill is what should be validated on the long term, and your experience is just like you can do that on a kill by kill basis or whatever it may be. So thank you for taking that seriously. I definitely complained about it, and I'm sure my video had something to do with the change, but I definitely wasn't the only person, and I know as a community everyone's going to be happier because of this, so thank you guys once again. A couple other changes is that the ragdoll physics with the streamer has has been like updated a little bit. There's some things that with hit detections and being able to use the feign death feature that would just cause it to freak out, or you know, prevent fall damage, some sort of those things. So that's just generally been normalized and you know, fixed to make more sense as far as the physics go. Vehicles now look, as they call it, straight from the showroom floor when you repair them back to 100%, which I didn't realize that didn't happen. Maybe every vehicle I repaired just wasn't that screwed up, but I never noticed that there was like still flames coming out, but I guess that was a problem. So now they, you know, they pretty much the functionality of the repair mechanic is 100% done, which is good. The scoreboard has been tinkered with mainly for the ease of modders to add, you know, whatever they want for their own custom game modes, and I think that's an awesome thing for the developers. So thank you for, you know, supporting modders. Number one, number two, to not dick them out of you know, basic features like this because it's locked down and just complicated. So I think that's great. I didn't really notice it at first when I, you know, tab and look, but everything is very, you know, easy to see and plain, which is what a scoreboard needs to be. And thank God it's not an F1 anymore. Tell you something that I noticed right off the bat, though, is that the map changes are ridiculously fast. So when you're in, like, single player, at least with bot matches, when you change a map, the loading screen is, at least for me on a 7200 RPM drive, and I'd love to see it on an SSD, is no more than like 3 seconds that you get the wait screen. The winning, losing, like, screens at the end, you don't have to go through that, which is awesome after a successful map poll, as they say, and you'll just go on directly to the next one, which is great. You know, I hate loading screens, as does everyone. And aside from some other general back-end stuff with global messages, another thing that I'm absolutely pumped about is that they brought back colors being unlocked from the get-go for your customization, which I don't even know why they thought this was a decent idea to lock behind a experience wall. I mean, Halo and you know, all these games beforehand have always done colors as like everyone has it. So it was kind of weird to me that they only unlocked a couple grays and from the get-go, and then like basic stuff like purple. Basic RGB colors weren't even available from the beginning. So is that a little pedantic? Yeah, it's a shooter. Who really gives a shit? But the problem is that it's hard to tell people apart when you're playing, you know, free-for-all game modes, which I think is a little important. But more so, it's just the fact that if people don't have a certain color available from the beginning, and say you're max rank and you unlock this royal purple, then everyone's going to be purple who's that rank, because they want to show off the thing that you get for getting that rank. So I think when a very distinguishing trait becomes unlockable or is behind an experience wall, that's going to just make that an incentive to wear it. So, you know, I don't want people choosing colors based on the way you have to unlock it. Armor is a different story for me, but just base colors, that's a little strange. So I'm glad they gave that back. Armor, camouflage, those are still locked by ranks, and that makes complete sense to me. But colors, not so much. Like I said, is this a game-breaking feature? Is this something that ultimately changes the vision of the game? No, but it was another one of those petty things. It was like, why? I mean, I get if you're trying to be different, but I think that's one thing that most video games do well, is divide what's unlocked and what's not unlocked from the get-go. Camouflages, yeah, that kind of sets you apart a little bit more. Armor permutations definitely do, but color, it's like that's something that should be basic, I would think. So I'm glad that that's no longer behind the experience wall. So that is the patch in a nutshell. As they say in their final thoughts, though, is that there is going to be a free trial with the final release of the game 1.0. And according to what they say, they're now within a couple of weeks of final release, which I think is great. So it's awesome that they are giving a free trial. I definitely do not want this game to be free to play. Obviously, if they were going to be free to play, I would figure they would, you know, be challenging stuff like Unreal Tournament a little bit more. But it will also keep out non-serious players. You know, if you're going to be putting in several hours to a game, throw 20 bucks at it. You know, I've got 30 hours into this game, not even really trying. Like, I'm keeping myself away from it, and I paid for like $18. So I definitely feel like I've gotten my money out of it already, and I'm going to triple that easily by the time 1.0 rolls around, which is great. So there's no free edition, there's no free-to-play model, but it's just a PC demo, which is exactly what it needs to draw in players, which is great. Also, there was going to be one last map, official map called Caliber, that will be a new have a new game mode called Time Trial along with it. I'm hoping that by the time it releases, every map will be playable on all of its logical stuff. Like right now, Citadel is still cell capture only. EHRGEIZ, however the fuck you say that, is still cell capture only. So I'm hoping that you know, they reevaluate it and do the same thing they did kind of earlier, and you know, add game modes to all these maps, so everything's completed. But it's also, Caliber is going to serve as a tutorial map for the single player stuff, and I got to tell you, that's one of the things I'm most excited for, is to see how this the contract single player stuff works out, because I think that's going to be a lot of fun, pretty cool. And there's a lot of Steam achievements they added that's associated with it, so now there's like 35, and I look forward to unlocking those. So I'm hoping I'll be back sooner rather than later with a, you know, completed overview, final release video. So this may be the second to last TOXIKK video, which is kind of cool, kind of bittersweet. I've really enjoyed doing these. Obviously, this has taken longer than I'd initially hoped when this game first released last January, but I've had a lot of fun, you know, doing this and updating people and all the awesome guys and gals that I've talked to in the TOXIKK Discord and all that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll definitely catch you whenever it comes out, hopefully sooner rather than later, and hopefully you don't catch me without internet again like you did a couple times ago. But yeah, that's about it. Great patch, great changes. Thank you once again for listening to your community, and I guess we'll see you next time. Also, badass new change to the intro screen. I'll give you that much. On the reactor logo especially, looks great, sounds awesome. But you took away the last brawl on TOXIKK, so I feel like something's missing. I'm waiting for it and it never drops. So I don't know, if people complain about that, you might want to put that back in. But it still sounds awesome, all that. I love the sound design, but I was just like, it caught me off guard when I didn't hear it. But anyway, thanks for sticking around, guys, and we will see you in hopefully 1.0. If there are any other big like updates past that besides just performance tweaks or some random you know, performance patch, then I won't cover it. But if it's big stuff, if it's adding maps or big new features, I will continue to cover this game. And you know, there'll probably be a lot more let's play or showcase type stuff with Steam Workshop. That's just a plan. So thanks, guys, and we will catch you next update. See ya.